So welcome. Welcome to Unity of Charlotte, where our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. And simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. And I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and I'm excited, very excited to be here this morning. And I'm so glad to have you here, both in person on Zoom and those of you that are joining us by YouTube. So we're going to start today by sharing our statement of oneness, and that will lead us into our opening prayer. So if you would join me in the statement of oneness. There is one presence, one power in my life and the universe, God, good omnipotence. And today's daily word, I open my mind and heart to receive my guidance. Sometimes I have insisted on figuring things out for myself rather than asking for anyone's help. Over the years, I have learned the value of asking for guidance and sharing what I've learned when others ask me. As we exchange ideas, we may tap into a higher wisdom that had not been apparent to either of us alone. This higher wisdom is not outside myself. It is the still, small voice, mine to call on anytime. I am always able to ask for guidance to show me the way forward. I access my inner guidance by opening my heart and mind in prayer. And then I watch and listen, remembering that divine guidance may come in a familiar way or perhaps an unexpected way that will surprise and delight me. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah. This morning, on my way to church, there was a different way to go. Not the expected way that I've been taking for 25 years, but a different way because as things go, they've just determined that there's a much better way for routing traffic getting onto 77 from Gold Hill Road. You see, the old way of sort of a lot of traffic lights and then left-hand turns has been reconfigured to a double diamond configuration. Who knew? Who knew? And so for this brief period of time, they have interrupted the flow of traffic and one must take a detour. But the detour is good. Sometimes when we have to take a detour, we get really irritated and angry because we're unfamiliar with it. But it leads us to a new way and a better way. The double diamond will eliminate many of the traffic lights and smooth the traffic flow onto 77 in both directions with minimal interruptions. And so, even though the best idea that is 20 years old has been reconfigured, it is better because somebody listened to new guidance. And I get to do a new way of coming up to Charlotte for a brief period of time, but I can whistle a tune as I go because as soon as the double diamond is available, I will bless it every time I go through it. We welcome those of you that are joining us on Zoom, and we tend to have very lively groups these days with the congregation that is able to come and the congregation that joins us on Zoom, and we also have an increasing following on YouTube. All of that is very exciting because if there is a need now, the need is for the guidance that we get from the unity teaching and the guidance from within. So we're delighted all of you are with us. And on our normal Sundays, when we get back into what we used to call normal life, we will have a children's program. So stay tuned for that as we go through these times as we figure out how our young people can continue to be safe and healthy. If you or anyone you know is in need of prayer, please use our prayer line at the website. Ask for prayer. It is our joy to pray for you. And you can also call Unity's telephone prayer ministry, Silent Unity, by calling 800-NOW-PRAY for personal affirmative prayer. And now for our announcements. The report from the Board of Trustees will be held on Sunday, September 26th, immediately following service. You see, we know that our board has been very busy at work for a very long time now, and that you're very interested in the workings of the church, and we are including you in that. So please stay with us on September 26th. I believe that's 2 Sundays from now, immediately after service, and we will fill you in on all kinds of good things and welcome your questions. The book club is September 19th at 11 a.m., immediately following service, discussing the book, I Am Through You. So the life of, I might have not said that in the flow. I've noticed I haven't been, my flow needs a little work this morning. I am through you. So the life of Brother David Stendel-Rast. Affirmative prayer meets on Tuesday evenings. It is a meditation group at 7:15 on Zoom, a wonderful event. Please join us. And the Path of Initiation is on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. on Zoom. The men's group meets in person at the church on the second and fourth Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. A Course in Miracles meets Thursdays at 9:30 on Zoom. And all of those links are found at our church website, unityofcharlotte.org. And finally, we are expanding our team of ushers and greeters. It's easy and it's fun. See Maria Malav for details. And I would like you to join me in our intention prayer for our new minister. And that will be showing up on the screen. And if it doesn't, we'll do it at the end. And there it is. So say it with me. Together, we affirm that we are calling in and are ready to receive another wonderful minister who is heart-centered, wise, sincere, humorous, and collaborative, and who openly walks a spiritual path of love, growth, and service. And so it is. And we do know that those resumes are flowing in. It is my joy to welcome back Reverend Rebecca Nagy, who is inspiring, thoughtful, extraordinarily warm in her presentations, and whose wisdom takes me through the week. And look how well she's walking. Yay! Come on up, Rebecca.
How is everyone this morning? It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming. This morning I'm talking, and of course, as the universe flows with sending us messages about inspiration, I was taking notes as Reverend Pat was speaking this morning, because of course what she was speaking about is exactly what I'm talking about today, which is changing direction and allowing yourself to go with the flow. So my talk today is about change, vision, and transformation. And I guess I got to do this, right? Hold on a second. This way. There we go. Vision, change, and transformation. And, every month, it's only been a month since I've been here. I still don't know what arrow to use. Anyway, when Jules Verne wrote From the Earth to the moon, or when Gene Roddenberry wrote his first Star Trek pilot. Anybody familiar with either of those two? Okay, just checking. The ideas they contained seemed incredible and fantastic, right? Going to the moon? He must be insane. Meeting aliens? Really? No way. No, I'm sorry, but I believe in aliens. So I don't believe that we are the only intelligent beings in the entire vastness of God's creation. I think we have some brothers and sisters out there from other planets. Perhaps we've even met some of them. Anyway, it was all too big to be credible. But, since we've been to the moon, we now have cell phones and iPads and Kindles and Zoom that can hold thousands, and our Kindles can hold thousands of books and pieces of music. And we can connect us all over the globe with all of the technology we have today. In even 100 years ago, it would have been considered magic, impossible, delusional to have any of this. I remember when Star Trek first came out, and they had those things that they would read books from in their rooms or listen to music. My gosh, right? I mean, it was way big. But see, we've heard this before. What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. There is not one thing in the universe that we can't grasp in our mind and make into manifestation. That's part of the power and the purpose of the times we're living in now. So we as humanity have had to evolve, and we're continuing to evolve to the point of receptivity, to where one person, then another and another would be able to conceive these ideas and make them reality. And for those of you that are joining us on YouTube and Zoom, you see this right now. It's almost instantaneous communication. And in the teachings, the truth teachings, it talks about the time when humanity develops the ability to instantaneously communicate through, it says mechanical means in the teachings. We won't know that it's electrical, magnetic, internet means. When a critical mass of people achieve that ability, we will instantaneously become telepathic as a whole with humanity. And there is not one person on the earth that will be able to go to sleep hungry without us not being able to sleep because of it. So the idea that we are living through this time of change and transformation is allowing us to have the idea and realize that there is plenty of money, plenty of love, plenty of everything we need in order to progress toward every goal of perfection. But why don't we all have it? When we find the truth teachings, we discover this for ourselves. The truth is that as you mature as a spiritual being of light, you also take responsibility. What's another name for responsibility? Respondability, right? You take responsibility, respond to your own path, your own experience, your own reality. And as you do that, you create a space of grace for others to participate in that same reality. That's why prayer groups, events like Unity Day of Prayer, that's why they're so powerful to help to change the world. And at this time, when we're celebrating a 20-year anniversary of an event that did indeed change the consciousness of the world, 9/11, it is a time for us to remember the power that event graced us with. Not the sadness, but the joy that we as humanity are still to this day. I understand that the Queen of England Instagrammed a world message of peace and support to our president and our country. I'm sure she didn't do it herself, but she might be an Instagrammer, who knows, right? But see, that's instantaneous communication. Millions of people read that message of support for the United States and for the energy that was created. And so as we begin to see this truth clearly, which is we are responsible for our own reality, the hardest thing to do is not to descend into shame and blame about what we're not experiencing, but to let go of any judgment, knowing that we're exactly where we need to be when we need to be. And so that other thing is this: if you do not allow yourself to be fluid, flow, go with the flow, be fluid, to bend under a strong wind. If you don't get going when the going gets tough, which is what we as Americans, as humanity do. I mean, we don't believe in just saying, oh, can't do that. Sorry. I'm just going to go to bed now. Most of us, when we consider having a challenging experience in our life, we eventually roll up our sleeves and say, okay, this is an opportunity. What do we say in New Thought? This is an opportunity for growth. An opportunity for growth. When we just kind of stand there and stagnate and say, this is just my lot in life. This is or this is when I hear some of this times in my counseling sessions. Why does this always happen to me? I mean, what is that called? It's called victim consciousness. There are no victims here. And so don't allow yourself to become stagnant or what I call pond scum, because you're not allowing change into your lives. I mean, that's what pond scum is about, right? It just kind of stagnates and has an overgrowth. The same can be said, of course, in our spiritual life. When you just follow one thing day after day after day and don't allow newness into your own spiritual growth, that becomes New Thought fundamentalism. Fundamentalism of any kind does not allow for growth. When you say this is always the way it is, or this always happens to me, or that's just the way it is, or my favorite, unfavorite saying is, it is what it is. Please don't say that to me anymore. But it is in my consciousness, and I understand. Sometimes I slip. And so I'm trying to look for another way of saying it is what it is. And so I thought I'd turn to Walter Cronkite and just say, and that's the way it is, right? We get into these habits, and then the habits, the words become thought forms. And they become this energy that we step into without realizing that we're not moving forward. We're just going like this, back and forth. And look, I can do that now. Back and forth. So the same thing is when something happens to us that is making our life more difficult, it's actually shaking us up and shattering the form that we've accepted and allowing us to break out of that cosmic egg and into a rebirth of a direction. So as Pat was saying, we want to do better as we begin to realize that new diamond configuration in front of us, and think what a diamond is. Think about the symbology, the metaphor of a diamond. Precious, the hardest substance in the world. Think of yourself as a diamond maybe in the rough. And each time you get honed by an experience that seems to be hard, you come out the other side shinier and brighter with more opportunities to embrace. So when you start to engage and commit to your spiritual life, shift happens. So first we had to let go of all judgments. And the second is let go of our resistance to change. This is nothing you haven't heard before. Let go of judgments. Let yourself let go of resistance to change. And this is exactly, Pat, what you were talking about. I even have a picture of a car. I mean, seriously? So this is what you were talking about, right? I haven't even spoken to her for a month. We did not compare notes today. So I love how the universe confirms that we are in the right place at the right time with the right people by giving us the same thoughts. And think about that as well as the magic of what we can do as a committed group of people that not only opens our minds, but thinks in the same direction, that visions something and we allow it to begin to manifest. We don't need millions and millions of people to change their minds, to change the world. We need a committed group of people to tap into the cosmic mind of the great all that is of God in order to pull forth from the mind of God our next step in our spiritual journey. And so this is from Dr. Dennis O'Grady. Change has a bad reputation in our society, but it isn't all bad. Not by any means. In fact, change is necessary in life to keep us moving, as I was saying. Don't allow yourself to become pond scum. To keep us growing, to keep us interested. Imagine life without change, without a diamond configuration coming into your future as you drive to places that you've been doing the same for 25 years. It would be static, boring, and dull. When people feel stuck and frustrated, it is often their fear of change that is causing the problem. I look at my current physical challenge of recovering from a hip replacement as the fact that it has to do with stepping forward. It has to do with stepping forward and allowing. It has to do with the idea that aren't we lucky to have such incredible medical advancements that even 100 years ago may have left me a grumpy old lady confined to my bed. I can't imagine that as my reality because that's not my personality. But who knows? I know what pain can do to your life. And I've seen what pain can do to other people's life. But I also know that we have the ability through the power of our mind to heal ourselves. Medicine doesn't heal us. We heal us. Medicine gives us some kind of a conduit to maybe lessen the pain and change our physical form. What kind of miracle is that we can have a total hip replacement and then walk? That's like Jesus walking on water to me. That's a miracle. And so when people feel stuck and frustrated, it's often their fear of change. When that fear is too strong, people are afraid to change. That's because they are under great stress and feel out of control. How many times do you feel that you have no control over things? That's a false thought. Totally false thought. The first thing we have control over is our perception of the change, our perception of what's happening. So New Thought philosophy teaches that way to our true path, and the successful expression of who we are is through the use of our own spiritual sight or inner vision. I'm not keeping up. And our dear Eric Butterworth said, we don't change what we are. We change what we think we are. That is a very powerful statement for us to hold in our consciousness right now, because we are unlimited. We are powerful beyond our wildest imaginations. And then I go on to my other favorite teacher, Dr. Michael Beckwith. Brilliant man. I think I've shared with you before, I've been in his presence. We've spoken at some of the same conferences and events. And just being in his presence is being blessed. And he teaches when the dynamic power of visioning as a way of discovering direction and clarity regarding life goals or current project comes from its reliance upon the inner knower, the deep self within us, always available and ever responsive when we call upon it. Ask and ye shall receive, knock and the door shall be open. That's what he's talking about when we call upon it. How many times we forget that. When we forget to ask. Now, for me, who is a very independent woman, I have a hard time sometimes asking. And I think of some of my physical challenges I've had over the years. And it's because I think I was too stubborn to ask. So I had to ask or had to accept help. I had to accept help. And when we accept help from another human being, we are allowing the other person to be in a state of grace because they are in a state of service and giving. So if you have the opportunity for someone to help you and you say, oh no, I can do it myself, allow them the privilege of having the grace in service. I used to say that to my mom a lot because she didn't like people to help her. I used to say, Mom, allow them to that. How do you feel when you help someone? Doesn't it fill your cup with joy that you can do this? So don't allow or stop somebody else to be able to feel that in their own lives. That puts a whole different swing on the idea of allowing people to help us. Proverbs. When there is no vision, the people perish. Proverbs. People who have no vision for their life are sleepwalking without a hint as to why they are here or what their purpose is. Are we sleepwalking right now? I don't think this group does that because I think we're pretty active and we take responsibility. But visioning is the idea that, it's an organic process that is based on the idea that we're not here to tell God what to do or ask God for things, but to absolutely be available for what God is already doing, to open ourselves up to catch what's already happening. There's a book called The Moses Code that talks about this. How many of you have heard of that book? It's pretty powerful because what it talks about is allowing yourself to be in a state of acceptance and gratitude as if it's already happened, what you are, quote, wanting to manifest in your life. And that's another change of perception about your particular lot in life to allow you to instead flow into your soul purpose in life and what the universe has in store for you. And this is important because before we can begin to be able to articulate our vision and to live and embody and reveal it, we need to be able to surrender to the change. I'm not talking about just going with the flow. I'm talking about allowing yourself to fall back into the arms of God and just allow it to happen. Knowing that, I'm sure you all have been in those workshops where you had to stand in front of somebody and fall back into their arms. That's a kind of a scary thing to do, isn't it? How many people have done that? Okay, I figure pretty much of us have done those. When I was a motivational speaker, that was one of the basic exercises we would do in some of my workshops. So we have to surrender to the change, to let go of ego desires for recognition, wealth, etc., and allow our lives to demonstrate the fulfilling of our heart's desire, which actually our heart's desire is the same thing that's God's wanting for us. We wouldn't want something in our life if God didn't put the thought there, because we are connected to the mind of God. It's called co-creation. Ever heard of that term? Yeah, I know you have. So here's some of the stages we go through that will allow us to change. The first is the stage of crisis. You feel you've got to change or else. That's also calling back up against the wall feeling. You're backed into a corner or up against the wall. It may be a business crisis or a personal crisis, but this sense of crisis is usually very emotional. It's a wake-up call telling you that you are confronting a need for change. The second stage of that is the stage of hard work. Put your pedal to the metal, right? God gave us 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 mouth, so that we can speak truth, but we also in living in the physical world. So this stage of hard work is what most people actually enjoy because they're doing something. It often involves hard mental work as well. You may take classes, read books, network with business contacts, etc., come to Sunday services. There is a sense of control in this stage, and that's very important for us. That allows us not to be in victim consciousness. So you're working hard to figure out the solution to the crisis. How many people are list makers? I have spiral notebooks that are many years old. I check them off, then I take the next and I write them down again and check them off. And I don't know how many spiral notebooks I have, but it's the only way I can keep track of all the different parts of my life. So the next slide, as you're going through this, is the stage of tough decision. Oops. Yes, the stage of tough decision. Then you reach the stage you have to make the difficult decision. Do I go right? Do I go left? This stage isn't easy, but it's a relief. because you're finally in the point where you are going to make a decision. You're going to take a direction. You feel glad that you're making a commitment. Doesn't that feel good when you finally say, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Because you're choosing a direction. There's a sense that just making the commitment will free you. Take a breath. Just, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And what happens with that is you continue the surrender process. You relax into the arms of God. So there's usually a feeling of optimism at this point. Then there's a stage of unexpected pain. You made the decision. At this stage, you are doing the right thing, but getting the wrong results. You're tempted to give up on your goal. And unfortunately, a lot of us do, because you're feeling awful about your failings. What is this about? It's about course correction, what Pat was talking about earlier. It's also, when I talk about this in my mind, I see me as the little ball in the pinball machine and go, oh, wrong way, oh, wrong way. Oh, there it is, all the way out to freedom. So don't let yourself live in a pinball machine. If you see what you're doing isn't working, there are a couple things that might be happening here. You may not realize that you've made positive changes. So you start changing. Just by the very process of allowing yourself these decisions, you've already made a change in your life because you are allowing something to happen. Thousands of times people quit when success is right around the corner. You've heard about the story of Buddha under the Bodhi tree, right? He sat there for how long until enlightenment came. But most of us will sit under that Bodhi tree and meditate and do our spiritual practice and be a good boy or girl and just kind of do it. And it's like, this isn't working. Oh my God. Just as it was beginning to hit the top of our head, just as we were going to get the change in our life, we give up because we are instant people. We want a pill. We want it to happen right away. We want to go to a class that's going to change our life forever. God forbid, we want to go to someone that's going to tell us what our future is in the form of lower psychism. So we give up and we don't finish the change. If something's not happening because the way we want it to, what do? A lot of times resentment will come in and we'll say, well, this isn't working. That's not the truth. If you didn't have to experience what the change was bringing to you, then you're left with depression, which of course is anger turned inward. You get mad that you don't get what you want. Anybody get mad when you don't get what you want? I do. I'm not healing as fast as I was expecting. I was supposed to be walking around and dancing 4 months ago, but that's not what my body needed. So my body is continuing to heal in its own way, and I have to love it and thank it for what it's doing. And so then what happens, it's called the stage. Do I have the stage? The stage of joy and integration. In this stage, the changes become a part of your life. If you just stick with it. Okay, I'm going to go back to the weight loss analogy. All right. You're not going to lose 50 pounds by dieting for 2 days a month. Just doesn't work that way. I've experienced that too. I remember when I was younger, I could lose 5 pounds in a week. And now it takes me almost 2 months to lose that 5 pounds. Okay. But every 0.4 ounces that I lose on my digital scale now keeps me going. And I know that it takes a longer time. It takes a long time to not only manifest the change, but to keep the change. Keep the change. So in this stage, the changes are truly a part of your life. You realize you are happy about the changes you have made, right? And they begin to pay off in a big way. So you're enjoying your new job, your new home, your new body. And just so we know, today we can affirm we choose joy. Let's say that out loud. Today, Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. Remember, it's a choice. And so it is. Namaste. Do I have a few more minutes? So I talked about vision. Let's get into some vision. Today I go to my inner temple to pray rather than, what does it say? Oh, not to pray, but rather to listen. Listening to the still small voice. So put everything aside, uncross your legs, your arms. We're going to go to our inner temple, not to pray, but to listen, but to vision. So take a deep breath. As we go within, we are giving our body the mental command to relax, release, and let go. In this quiet place, we bring calm into our thoughts, into our awareness, activating our intuitive faculty. So focus on breathing into your third eye. And as you observe your breath entering and leaving your nostrils, focus on opening and softening your heart as well. Breathing into it. Saying to yourself, I love and I care. I love and I care. I love and I care. Breathing deeply, we keep in mind that absolute love is not the relative romantic love or sentimentality. It is a total love given without a sense that it has to be earned through some meritorious act. It is love for the sake of who you are, just as you are. So sense this love filling the entire atmosphere around you. When you feel you have reached a state of openness and receptivity, silently or verbally affirm your readiness to enter into a vision given to you by Spirit. And as you surrender to Spirit, send out this thought to higher self. What is the highest vision for my life? What seeks to emerge in, through, and as my life? Open your mind and your heart. What is the highest vision for my life? What seeks to emerge in, through, and as my life? Be in the silence to receive. And now ask, what must I release to manifest this vision? What must I release that is keeping me from realizing this vision? And now we move into a state of being and having rather than trying to get something by asking, what talents, gifts, skills, qualities do I already possess that will serve this vision? And now we enter into receptivity to Spirit to continue to manifest through us this highest vision for our lives by sounding a sacred yes with full trust that more is going to be revealed as you continue to go within, listen, and allow. Yes, yes, yes. And then we allow ourselves to be in full gratitude for the vision that is taking form, beginning to manifest in our own lives. This yes, your willingness to be and do what is necessary is full of grace. And we are in turn full of gratitude for allowing ourselves to be of service in this time and this place, in the great plan that continues to unfold from the Christ consciousness, the mind of God. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to be in this time and place. As we put our hands together, palm to palm, let us say the Hindu word for peace. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May peace prevail on earth. And so it is.
It looks like I'm ready to start the service all over again. It was just so good. Well, here we are at a very important time after having our hearts filled and our minds redirected. We now get to recognize with gratitude all that we have been given and to practice the law of circulation, because we do know that as we give, we also receive. As we receive, we also give. It's a continuing cycle. And as we progress on this path, we take less notice of what cycle we're in because we feel it all is the same. Please hold your gifts at your heart. All of the gifts that you give and that you receive. And know with me and say with me the prosperity blessing. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.